We're back. Attorney General Bill Barr will face this testimony by a former Mueller prosecutor. MSNBC contributor and longtime strategist Steve Schmidt is here. Steve, does Bill Barr have something to worry about with this testimony? And is what he has done in the public record, is it okay?
Well, we've seen this lawless attorney general operate for enough time to know now that no matter what we learn at the hearings, it's likely to validate what we already know, right? Which is that he's interfered politically time and time again in the Justice Department. And that's dangerous because in a democracy, the rule of law must be supreme. No citizen can be above it. No citizen should be below it. No citizen should have someone kneeling on their neck. No privileged friend of a president should be immune for their crimes. And so we've seen this attorney general act like Donald Trump's Roy Cohn, which is what he said he always wanted. The attorney general is the chief law enforcement officer of the United States, not the president's personal attorney. And time again, Attorney General Barr has acted in a way that's contrary to every other attorney general's understanding of their duties in that office, including Barr when he previously served. His conduct has been appalling. And I think most importantly today is Senator Harris insisting that she will not let go of the investigation into whether it is the case that the attack on peaceful protesters in Lafayette Square was ordered directly by the attorney general. Did he order the gassing, the beating, the trampling of peacefully assembled American citizens asserting their First Amendment speech rights? And I think that's a very important issue because he's attorney general, not interior minister of some thugocracy.
We were joined by Chairman Nadler, who has been pressing the attorney general to testify under subpoena over a range of matters, including this, and who is now seeking to actually talk about defund the police. And you mentioned Mr. Barr's alleged use of law enforcement. Chairman Nadler told us last night he may defund by $50 million Mr. Barr's personal office to go beyond even the subpoena threat. Take a look at some of what else he said last night.
We have to get serious about Mr. Barr, who's totally lawless, who's turned the Attorney General's office into a not just a legal office for the president, but a legal office for the president's crimes.
It sounds like you and the chairman are in agreement, and many news viewers are familiar with some of what Mr. Barr has done. We documented, of course, how misleading he was on the Mueller report, and we did that from day one. When you look at the actual communications challenge, which is something you know about, what Chairman Nadler and others are going to try to do when they gather evidence that should be factual and under oath and all that. But putting on your strategist hat, Steve, what do they need to do, particularly given that there's a lot of other important stuff going on? Because if the Attorney General and others can delay, duck, avoid hearings, and basically push all this down the road, in a way, they escape potentially accountability. What do you think Nadler and others need to do to make this hearing matter next week?
Well, the chairman needs to execute his oversight duties as the chairman of the Committee of Jurisdiction from a co-equal branch of government. And it's entirely appropriate for the chairman to threaten the attorney general's personal office with a reduction in spending because of the lawlessness of the attorney general. It's a proper use of congressional power. Look, when we look at the totality of everything, the focus shouldn't be getting attention on the hearings and on Barr. It should be making part of a composite case against the lawlessness of the president. And Donald Trump didn't do this without abettors and collaborators and accomplices. And Attorney General Barr is one of the chief accomplices in implementing Donald Trump's lawlessness. So he should be held into account. He should be put into the public record. But what matters most, with under 150 days to go, is the election that's coming up. And we see now the wide frame of the choice coming into play. It's between law and order with Joe Biden and lawlessness with Donald Trump, between decency with Joe Biden and indecency with Donald Trump. between somebody who divides, Donald Trump, and somebody who unites. And so that framework for this election, as our economy is shattered with 40 million people out of work, coronavirus cases out of control in 14 states with over 100,000 dead, the bill is coming due for the reality show presidency. We see the tragic consequences. There are a lot of people over the years who have done a business deal with Donald Trump once. There are very, very few who did that business deal with Trump a second time. And that's what voters, some of whom voted for Trump, some of whom voted for President Obama and then Trump, I think are looking, saying, there's literally no one in the country except the Trump kids who seems to be better off than they were 4 years ago.
Well,
the country is asked to mass, and it stands at a moment of unprecedented weakness domestically and globally, and that's what this election's about.
I knew you knew how to communicate, Steve. You always nail it home. And I think that's an interesting line about not wanting to do the deal twice. Indeed, with some places like Trump University, you could attend, but it was very unlikely you could get, your little brother or sister to go, because by the time you quote unquote graduated, they were out of business. I do have some quick lighter business with you. These are serious times, but I'd be remiss if I didn't notice we were in another room in the Schmidt residence. I think it's what looks like a beautiful totem pole behind you. What is it?
That's a beautiful, beautiful part of the world, and I love that type of art.
I love it. And one of my producers in my ear is saying we're going to go back out and look at the wide shot of you, because we're also wondering, will the pineapple be used for fruit salad or for a drink by the end of your day?
That's headed into a drink, Ari, for sure.
All right. Totem poles and pina coladas and thoughts on the state of American democracy with Steve Schmidt. We love seeing you. We'll have you back. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.